projects and different working groups within an open source. Oh my gosh, thank you, Peg, or whoever started the recording. I totally forgot that, but fortunately we are not that far into it. Let me just mention, so for those who may be watching the recording, we started already, and I forgot to push the record button. We haven't gotten very far into it. We're just getting started with introduction about the platform. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna look at the content strategy, the platform overview, and do the agile planning setup. Sorry, yes, please.
Yeah, you're just getting a question about maybe zooming in on your screen. The font's kind of small for those that are on the size monitor.
If I can figure out how to use this, why did it go to the side? There we go. And we go up. And I'll go up and over.
Looking better, thank you.
And we'll talk about different ways of participation. We're going to look at sprints and hackathons, and again, as we have more participants that are interested in different things, we'll start to work those into breakout groups. And you know, one of the things that's nice is everything about the community is already set up for community-based administration. So anybody who's a participant, if you see something that you're interested, and as we look at all the different needs the community has, you know, if you're interested in a particular thing, and we have enough people to get a breakout group or a workout group going, or a breakout group going, then we'll start to establish different councils and groups and things like that to give everybody an opportunity to collaborate and to participate. So for content perspective, we have a few different core types of content, and let me just review what those are and what we hope to do with them. So probably one of the big ones that most people know about are our courses. And you know, courses have got a lot of the attention on the site, but they are not intended to be like the only thing or the pure center of attention. We can continue to add courses as a community, but in my mind, like I have sort of a fixed canon set of core courses, with the intent of the courses here are, if somebody is new to these technologies, they can go through, say, the 101, 201 course, you know, and really get up to, you know, a level of speed with the technology. And I expect more of our advanced content to becoming more informative guides and tutorials. There will be additional courses that pop up. But this is really more of an on-ramp. I do want to mention, you know, VMware has a lot of different educational offerings, and that can be a bit confusing. And our offering, you know, we're not like a big project. We're a new experimental project. There is not a single dedicated person on this program. I'm the closest thing there is to a dedicated person for this, and I'm fortunate some weeks I get to spend a good amount of my time on this. I do have other things on my plate. I think large majority of what you see is a result of like a lot of what you might consider volunteer efforts from members of the community, or from myself, you know, burning the midnight oil, if you will. And so this is, I like to mention that because I think there's an impression that a lot of people have when they hear that, that, hey, VMware is a big company, you know, are they devoting their resources to education? And I say, absolutely, VMware is devoting tons of resources to education. We have so many different educational initiatives. And that's one of the challenges that we face in terms of providing the resources to have everything, you know, looking perfect and running perfect on this community, and hopefully why it's a really good match to bring us together as a community to share our knowledge with each other and to help make everything, you know, the community and the content and the platform itself as good as it can be for the benefit of the rest of the community. And I think you know, we're getting attention from leadership within VMware. We're getting additional investment and awareness every day. At the same time, you know, there's a lot of different educational initiatives within VMware. So there's always that divide from the leadership perspective, which I very much respect. You know, they've got all these different initiatives, and if we continue to fragment those, none of them get attention and none of them get to be any good. And so yeah, I think with all of your interest, and if we're doing the right thing, then I think we'll get continued attention and continued investment in our program. and so on and so forth. Gosh, I am being a master wordsmith this morning, Peg. You're gonna have to come and save me here every once in a while from myself. So yeah, the courses right now, the 101, I've wanted to design these in a way to where they're very easy to build and maintain as much as possible. Very, very streamlined, since we don't have a lot of dedicated resources to we don't have a lot of dedicated resources to devote to each course. We really want to look for efficient methodologies to build and maintain courses. And so for me at the 100 level, how I see the 100 level courses is if somebody is going to go and get introduced to a new technology, I'm very lab centric. I think, the community as a community overall, technical, and everybody really appreciates hands-on. But I don't think it's a good idea if somebody, let's say that there's a new technology, someone barely knows what it is. They haven't seen a single presentation. Maybe they read a few words in a PDF, but they don't really have an understanding of what that is. I think it's good to get like that initial one-on-one presentation. So you have an understanding of the big picture of what a particular product is before you start to dive into the hands-on. So the 100 level courses are not supposed to be long. But they're supposed to provide that really initial introduction so that people understand the big picture and the key concept of what something is. So that way, in the next step in 201, when people start diving into more hands-on activities, they have that strong understanding of the product's vision and intent and what it's supposed to be about. And so, and 201 courses. The 201 is really optimized to align with the VMware hands-on lab. And none of this is written in stone, right? We're a community, and I really want to get to the point where the community together makes decisions about things. But let's look at VMware hands-on labs. Hands-on labs, let's see, hol.vmware.com. And I should zoom in.
And just a comment while you're going to that, Art, just a comment on regardless of which course you're talking about, because you're talking about some of the assets that we have on the platform. It's the platform itself that we're going to be taking a look at, right, and planning how we maintain everything that's running.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think part of it is, for me, part of the call, a big part of the call is going to be looking at the features of the platform. But I also want it to be, content strategy and people who are working on so the way it's kind of laid out is because we're using DevOps type systems to run everything, even people who are content contributors are actually participating in the system in the way that a developer would if they were developing code, right? We're hosting the text that is in these courses in repositories, in Markdown files, and you have to do pull requests to edit those files. And then when you make an edit to a content file, that triggers a software build process with Hugo. And so while we're going to look a lot at features, we're also going to make sure that the kind of the idea is participation and contribution as a whole. And so understanding content developments is also important. And I am talking too long on the subject, though, so I am glad that you mentioned it, because I'm not going to, if I keep going on that, then I will not have time for the other stuff. So we have hands-on labs, and hands-on labs have always been really, really popular and really, really great. And people in the VMware community have just really loved hands-on labs. But there are some things about hands-on labs that that I think could, it's not a matter of improved on, but some additional capabilities I think we can add to them that can be meaningful. And so these are really good content, but there's a lot of text. There's not videos, there's no progress, there's no tests or certifications. And it's that really great content. They already refresh these on a very regular life cycle, and there's a lot of them, right? So if we wanted to make a new course quickly about something, leveraging what was already made in the hands-on lab is really, really powerful. And you think about, how do I maintain, some a course or a lab guide so that it stays current. Well, the hands-on labs, they already have a lifecycle management schedule. So a couple times every year, there's opportunities for updates, and that kind of takes care of itself. And so if we can align with that and build around it, and we really get all that goodness that's already being done, that forms a lot of what we want in a course. And what else might we like? We might like to say, if I go into a hands-on lab, then I may want to say for section 1, it'd be nice to have a video that would explain the concept for to help supplement the text. Maybe it might be nice to have some type of interactive multimedia exercise that would enhance the user experience. So the idea is before someone goes and does module 2 in a particular lab, we could produce a video and a presentation and perhaps some additional supplementary learning activities that people could take. And then they go to the hands-on lab document, go do the exercises in module 1 or 2 or whatever module they're working on, and they can come back to the Modern Apps Learning course, where we can provide the testing and certification. And so I think that's a really nice, efficient process for leveraging content that's already there, hopefully enhancing it in meaningful ways. And that's something I think, with limited resources and with limited time, as all of us know, that's kind of the world we live in. We're always going to be busy. I think it's a really great way to get a really good introductory course out there, and having that, I know that having that ability to take the test and get a certification and recognition for that effort has been meaningful to a lot of the audience. Okay, so that's the 201 level courses, and 301 level courses we're still exploring more. I'm not going to talk about that so much right now. Keep it entry level because we got a lot of content to cover. Now to the guides. Now courses, when you think about, I want to create content, probably the most comprehensive content that one that might be more time consuming is it's going to take one more time and effort to create a course than it would be, say, to create a blog or a simple lab guide. So we have a lot more to think about. And so when we first started, we had a massive number of guides and no courses. And we started to shift towards courses, and things being what they were, we were going through a lot of different changes. We ended up having mostly more courses now than guides, but I'm hoping it's time we will start to see a lot more guides. As the idea is when people want to share their knowledge, including myself, it's generally a lot easier to get it started as a guide. And maybe a guide may one day evolve into a course. But a guide is exactly what you'd think. It's a very simple, straightforward document. I'll go ahead and click on one of these. That makes it a lot easier if you're thinking in terms of sharing your knowledge. You can, starting one of these, creating one of these is a very simple process. And one of the big advantages that we've had as a community, I mentioned, we used to have a lot of guides. And what everybody would do in the community, we started off smaller, much smaller community inside of VMware. And we really encouraged practices, and we had hackathons and competitions. And what ended up happening was every time anybody went to go read a guide, everybody learned, hey, I can click on this, edit this page link, and I can make an edit if I see a mistake or if I see something that could be done better. And what ended up happening is people would come and create a guide, and the community would just maintain it. And if you think about that, like if you've ever created a technical blog or thought about creating a technical blog, you guys, one of the unfortunate things is you go to all this effort to create this blog, and the second you hit save, it starts to get old, right? From that moment, it'll be new for a little bit, but the longer that blog sits out there, generally that's the life cycle of blogs are made at one particular point in time, and then they fade away a little bit over time. And what I loved about this is this empowered like a lot of our content creators to create content that, again, they could then move on to the next thing that they're interested in, work on making that next piece of content without worrying about, oh, that's unfortunate that this is that hard work I did may start to age and fade away, et cetera. And so hopefully this will, if we all learn, if we execute on this right, and we get the messaging out around this right, I know from the past experience we can really get back into that cadence of making sure everybody knows, this edit this pages here. It's a very simple functionality. And you click on that and submit a suggested improvement, to share your knowledge. That gives you commits on your GitHub profile that are valuable for your resume and so on. And so hopefully we can, we're working on getting back into that pattern. Again, we're working on, we let the courses steal the focus for a long time, but we do want to make sure everyone knows about this content type. And if you want to share your knowledge, this is available. If you have any lab guides you'd like to share, this is one of the formats that's available. And another one is the tutorials. So tutorials are, I really, really love the way that tutorials came together. This was not, a lot of my team came together to help come up with this. And, big, huge part of our goal is to shine a spotlight on our members of our community that are out there sharing knowledge. And there's so many people out there sharing knowledge, and it's hard to find, come up with a list of all the different people who are sharing knowledge and all these technical blogs, really good hands-on technical blogs that exist out around the world in the VMware and modern apps ecosystem. And so what we're trying to do is trying to provide a consolidation. So this is not content we host. If you write a blog and it's relevant to this community, you can post your blog here too. I need to put it up in front, but if you scroll all the way down in the blog, there is a blog here. We call these tutorials. You could kind of think of them as blog tutorials. When you click on these, you realize these are technical blogs. They are all blogs that are tutorials though, right? They're blogs that are there to share technical knowledge. So if you have a blog that's there to share technical knowledge about really anything in the cloud native community, that we are a VMware sponsored property, so we are looking for things that are not they don't have to be specifically about VMware, but we will shy away from content that would be directly unfriendly towards VMware stuff. And so that's kind of the general guideline, but anybody can come if you've written a technical blog somewhere on your own platform or on your own page, and you can go ahead and share that here. And there are instructions here in one of these blog entries to do that. And so I encourage everybody, share your blogs here, and hopefully that will provide, it's a very simple process. And the idea is hopefully this will be another channel for you to, if you're a content creator, find audience. Now I am, again, talking too long. Now let me go to the core of the platform here, and we'll look at the platform itself. So let's look at Modern Apps Ninja. So we are have moved to Modern Apps Learning as the name of the community. So we're not using Ninja anymore. I've never met anybody who it offends, but we just want to be sensitive to things and choose names that are less likely to possibly offend somebody. So in some of these areas, like our GitHub organization, this is hard to change. There's a good chance we will change it over time, maybe not. But as you see on all the content pages, we're not using the name Ninja outside of where it is the name of the domain, obviously, right? It is the name of this organization, but the title of the program is Modern Apps Learning. So in this org, we have all of our courses and sites and so on that you see when you go to the front end of the page. So the Modern Apps Ninja website works on top of GitHub pages. All the courses are on top of GitHub pages. And the way that works is you have a standard GitHub repository. And what you see in your GitHub repository is essentially the back end view. We're looking at the combination of text and code that together will create the front end view, our web page view we were just looking at. So if we look at modernappsninja.github.io of repository, for example, is the homepage. And so we can click on the homepage and we see what you see here is exactly what turns into this. So this is built from this, right? And so we have all these repositories here, and you can essentially manage the content through the GitHub side. And we have it set up to where whenever anyone makes a modification to the content, a software build process happens using Hugo. It's a static site generation tool. And it takes all the source content that we put here, and it builds new HTML pages that represent, whatever modifications that we made. And so it's kind of cool, everything, down to, adding a period to the end of a sentence will trigger a software build process. And so idea is I know for myself, I came from an infrastructure background, learning about all of this new stuff and how the software development, it's daunting because you go take the courses and they talk about coding, and if you're trying to learn things like how do I check in my file, but we're using examples for developers, and if you don't have that background, it's really hard to understand how to work with the version control systems like GitHub. And so the hope is here, and some of the experience we've had shows if people can look at it, the text, and then do something like click on a course here, and we go start the course, and we're going through our course, and we see a page that says text. It has text. This has text. We see a page like this, and we're like, oh, there's a punctuation problem here, right? We can click edit this page, and we can say, maybe we want to change that from submit a test to submit tests. Maybe that's a better way of doing it. I'm going to leave it because I'm just going to assume that it was already okay. But my point is just want to show, this is really like a good first step at really starting to get your feet wet in the contribution space. As saw, like there's just every one of those pages in the courses has that edit this page link. And if you look at this, you can start to very easily see, even though there's some markup, there's some stuff in here, I'm not sure exactly what that is, but if I go over and look at my page, I say, all Modern Apps Ninja learning content is publicly accessible. Go over here, all Modern Apps Ninja learning content is publicly accessible. Okay, and this is pretty much just plain text. You need to learn a little bit about this Markdown structure in here as you do more, but with Markdown, this editing your typical paragraph is just plain text. And so it's very easy to way to get started. And when you start to do this, you've actually learned the skill on how to edit, how to make edits to code files or any other type of file that you would check into GitHub or a similar version control repository. And so when you make this edit, if I were to save this out, and let's just save it, I'm just going to add an extra space. And typically, we almost always will do this second. You'll only have an option to the second option for most people. I'm an administrator, so I have this option to do this terrible thing called pushing that I shouldn't do, but I'm going to right now just to demonstrate something. So I'm going to go ahead and I added an extra space to that document. And we go ahead and click to change. And now I can go to my GitHub Actions page, and I can see that my process is running that. And what that did is it said, my source file, that text file we were just working in that we added extra space to, it changed. And if we want to reflect that change on the website view, we got to go through a software build process. We're going to take those source files. And what Hugo does is it's going to say, it puts the source of building our pages in that much simpler format for editing than that Markdown file. And it knows how to take that Markdown file and to essentially convert everything into modern HTML. And it does that with a standard CICD workflow. We do that with GitHub Actions here to be able, so that way, the point with GitHub is not to like show off GitHub, but it is to that because GitHub Actions CI/CD workflows are very, very similar to anybody else's. Just like GitHub as a Git system, as a version control system, is very, very similar to all the other version control systems out there. And so one way we use GitHub because we want to be an on-ramp to help people who want to learn how to participate more in other open source communities. It's hard to get started with this stuff. It's very daunting to walk in an open source community. So that's a goal of ours as well. And also because it's completely free, we don't pay for anything. All these actions run at zero charge. And then, but the big reason is, again, is it's not about the GitHub specific implementation. It's just that these are very good reference implementations for new modern application platforms. And so we got a lot of Tanzu stuff that we'll talk about. We have dedicated infrastructure and Kubernetes clouds to offer Kubernetes services running that support some of the features. Now, most of the features currently do run using GitHub Actions. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the homepage and let's look at some of this project planning. So let's go. Right now, I have been centralizing a lot of the issue tickets here on the homepage view. And again, to find this, if you're not sure how to get to the GitHub page, an easy way is if from the homepage, let's just go back to the homepage. From the homepage, you can see here, Modern Apps GitHub org. And so that's one way you can get back to the, find that GitHub org. And this is that Modern Apps Ninja GitHub.io, or you can type in the URL to get to the homepage. So we do everything in terms of issue tickets, which is a very common approach to using a modern agile kind of a system. And so issue tickets can be used for support requests, for kind of an ask me anything type request, anything that you want to ask from the community that you would like an answer to. Issue tickets are a great thing to use, but it's also used for new features and for bugs and for really anything and everything. And so it's kind of a little bit of a beating heart of what's going on from an administrative standpoint in the community. And so what we will do is we have issue tickets that capture everything that we want and everything that's going on. And what we're going to do is go into our GitHub projects and start to organize those into different boards so we can track the progress and really make the effort to solve all of these issue tickets manageable. And so with an issue ticket, the first thing in the process of an issue ticket is triaging, which means somebody coming in to looking at the ticket to try to determine, okay, let's label this, let's categorize it, let's get this to into the queue for the appropriate spot for people to take a look at it. So maybe we would think about there's bugs, there's support requests, there's feature requests. When we get into feature requests, what types of feature requests, right? And we want to append labels that will route our issue ticket to the correct board. And that's that triaging process. And so it's one of and while I'm talking about triaging, that's one of the big things with the community is if you haven't worked in an environment that works like this before, we want to give you the opportunity to do that, whether it's just looking or whether it's you're coming in and getting a permission level where you can play. And it's a safe space for you, because this is triaging is something that doesn't have to be, especially you can participate in it without being perfect, without doing it perfectly. And so if you look at how GitHub has their permission levels, for assuming that when people are new to a community, we think maybe they're going to start with the lowest permission levels, and over time, those increments of what types of permissions that GitHub has and roles, those do actually align with what makes sense from a learning standpoint. And so when you start off, you're just a member, you don't have any permissions to do anything in particular. And in GitHub, if you don't have permission, you can't even apply a label to an issue ticket, even your own issue ticket. You can create an issue ticket, you can't apply a label to it. And there's a good reason for that, because in the modern apps world, we like to automate things. It's a good thing, automate. And labels, turns out, are a really great trigger for automations. And so somebody who is coming from outside the community, who's not a member or really any member of the community that creates an issue ticket, they can't start by labeling their own tickets. So we have a function for triaging where members of the community and anyone can become a triager. I've set up the whole community to where we're using GitHub permissions. So you can become a member of the triagers team, and that will immediately give you triage level permissions across our entire portfolio of repositories. And that's one of the really great ways to get started if you're interested in learning more about Agile, because again, this is in modern app stuff, because that triaging is, and the issue tickets are the beating heart of everything that happens throughout the community. You know, everything, if I make a change and make an improvement, why did I do that? I did it to add a new capability, add a new feature, add new content. I did it to address a bug. I did it to resolve a support request, right? I did it for one of those reasons. And what I should do, it should always be the case, is it should be that there's an issue ticket that gets created that says, there's a problem, there's a need, we want something new. It should say one of those things, right? And that way, when we go and actually resolve that problem, every time we make that change, it should correlate to an issue ticket. And that's one of the things that really actually helps tremendously with documentation. And I have to say, I've been pretty bad about this with trying to get the initial settings off the ground. I'm really starting to get a lot better with it. As I think at a minimum, it's always hard to get your documentation for everything done well. But if you start with those simple patterns, they actually really help to provide something to something. So that way, every time you make a change, you can see, why did I make that change? What did it relate to? And we have that traceability to figure out, so we can keep track of our management of why we're doing things. And so when we open an issue ticket, another great thing about triaging is a best effort activity. And I'm going to have our workflow process really built to submit that as a best effort activity, which means, let's say you're interested in triaging, you reach out and we give you triager permission, and you're like, oh, I'm going to go and look at the issue tickets and see if I can triage something. You don't have to be perfect about it. Right? For me, even for me, who kind of created a lot of this stuff here, when I created a new issue ticket, every time I just kind of look through, I have an idea oftentimes about what I want, what I have in mind, what some of the labels are, but I look through the list of labels and I think, what actually applies to this? And if I'm not sure, I'll just ignore that part. But if I see a label that I think is a really good fit here, go ahead and put it on here. And the way that the triaging process is going to work is that we have new triagers, and we're going to have kind of 2 tiers of triagers. So I'll have a label that says, triage complete or something to that effect, that triage accepted. So if somebody wants to start triaging and they're not sure, well, I'd like to try this, but I don't want to, I don't want to mess anything up. I don't want to do something wrong. Don't worry about it, because you can come in, do your best effort of trying to apply a label here that makes sense. And then there'll be another, but when you do that, we'll have other people come in and look at them to check up on it and let really try to provide some sort of mentorship about, you did a great job triaging this, that was perfect, or or if they add additional labels or do different things, you'll be able to see that, because once you start modifying one of these tickets, it'll add to your GitHub alerts. And when someone else comes in and finishes the triaging job, you'll be able to see exactly what they did, and you'll get alerted to it and really learn how that triaging works. At the same time, the best place to be to really start to get an understanding of everything that's going on in the community, since everything should be coming through the issue ticket area. Now, let's go over here and look at our project boards. Well, so let's just look at a couple of labels that we have. We can see here we've got kind bug, and we've got some bugs, and we have some kind feature is what we use for, we want a feature. It's not something wrong per se, something new that we would like to have. And most things are bugs and features. We also have support requests. I need to do a better job at making sure people know where to file support request tickets and that they can about anything. But we also have support requests in here. And there's also some things in here that represent specific projects that have a specific complex projects that have a number of tasks that we'll also look at separately. So if we go over to our projects boards, I've got this thing here, vmug vsphere Tanzu day. That one I made delete because I don't know if we have much to track for that. There was a project that we're working on. But one we have is our edX to GitHub migration. So we have an older learning platform, and we're migrating everything to this new GitHub pages-based platform now, and that is still ongoing. And there's a number of different tasks for that. So decided to give it its own project board. And just to get started here, I've created boards for support requests, for feature requests, for bugs, and an initial board for triage. And so most of this isn't set up yet. And so I'm going to be setting up a lot of this on the calls as we go. Let's say an hour on Friday mornings is not going to nearly capture that. And I would really love to kind of just keep rolling with it, go for longer periods of time, or if we come and we meet on Friday morning to say, hey, we're going to work on this feature and that feature and this feature and that feature throughout the week, and we look at the planning, how do we share and capture, let's say if I go to work on that, on building out a particular feature, answering a support request, I want to share that knowledge as much as possible. And so I'm really thinking about having additional times, like maybe we'll say, oh, check out this particular new feature that I'm going to build, and maybe I'll go work to build on that. Maybe there'll be people who join me, maybe not, but I would like to show that process. So I might on Friday mornings we'll do some planning, and I might work on some of those features throughout the week. And I think what I'll try to do is capture videos or text and notes, etc. Maybe write a blog or lab guide when I'm building those features. So that way, if you're here on Friday, you hear about the feature, you'd love to see how it got implemented. I'll try to record videos of implementing the feature, and we'll also have things when we have new features, and we want to be able to have a time to say, hey, check out this important new feature. And that takes time to show those new features. And so I think this call will be a springboard, and as much as we have interest and people interested, I want to schedule a lot of additional breakout calls or video recordings where we can do further exploration into the feature development and the support requests and so on. So let's start with this triage board, and we'll look a little bit about how these GitHub projects work. And one of the cool things is that in Kanban boards, which is another name for this type of visual board, everything, your issue tickets will show up here just like these cards when you add issue tickets to these columns. And you can set up automations that determine what goes into what column. And so move issues here when they are newly added. So move pull requests here when they're newly added. So notice you can have, so your issues are describing what a need is. I need a feature, I need a support request, I need a bug resolved. And your pull request is used when you're actually submitting the actual update to the repository that resolves that issue ticket. Now, some issue tickets are not resolved by pull request, right? Someone may ask a question and you answer that question verbally or in text, that just in the issue ticket. But whenever a issue ticket does correlate to a resolution that pushes content or into this repository, that's done with this pull request. And so you can view kind of both the request and the response on these boards as well. And so let's say I put new added, so let's say update automation. Now I'm gonna delete these notes for now. And these notes are kind of good little getting started notes. I'm going to delete them from these boards to make room for the other delete note, the other tasks. And what we're going to start with is I'm going to start with a column called Icebox, and we'll say preset planned but not started, and we'll call this to and I'm going to change that other one. I want this rule removed from Zuko. Perfect. Yeah, I was going to go in and remove the other one I just created because only one of your columns is going to accept just the newly added tickets. So we'll go ahead and create column. And I want to start things in this Icebox that is an additional layer of planning, so we can have really everything that needs to be triaged pop into here. And as we start to think about it, we can move it through these. Now, the purpose of the triage board, right, is not to complete the resolution of issues. And so probably modify some of this as we go. The purpose here is to track the triaging, to make something so something gets through. And I say the part one of the triaging, because the real intent here is that what we should be doing in the initial stage of triage is to determine what goes into what board that the ticket goes into next. So we're really going to look here: is it a bug? Is it a feature? Is it support? And so we can, having a board here though really helps us a lot, because when you think about it, what I want to do is I want to find all the new tickets that haven't been triaged yet. And if we have them automatically populated into this board, as compared to this. So right now we have only 27 issues. That's not too bad. But if I come here and I want to say, I want to find the new issues that haven't been triaged or completed triage yet, it's a lot harder because I'm looking at everything. And there, if we include all our new features requests, we get busy. There could be, dozens and dozens of tickets coming in here. And so and that's okay, because there's lots and lots of great filtering mechanisms. And one of the reasons why we use these project boards. Now, I know we are getting close to running out of time, and so I want to look at some of these features together to give an idea of what type of things we're going to be working on, because we have a lot of interesting things to be building out. And my hope is that, there's so many different things. We're really, there's so many different things that we need as a community. And one of the things that we can do too is, let's say you're really interested in building out, analytics stuff, or maybe you're interested in data science and doing stuff like that. Well, we have needs in that area, and we can potentially provide resources in that area. And so for a lot of people who, I want to work on a fun project. If I go to work, I can't play with that. I have to be incredibly careful, because I don't want to, lose my job, sort of thing, right? Touching production equipment is hard, and lab environments usually don't have long-running things. And so really trying to create an environment where we can have an access to start to work on new production assets, even things we haven't done before and we're learning how to do, and start to build things out, and maybe have access to resources. And so we, as the community, we hope to provide those resources if any of these type of things require resources to build out, whether it's new content or whether it's updating features. And so if we look at here on this board, so I have things like create an automated weekly newsletter system, right? We need to do that, and that'll be a really fun project. It's a really easy thing to do with GitHub Action workflows, because every week GitHub keeps, all of the new stuff that's happening has events associated with it, right? If I add, say, a new calendar event to the Modern Apps Ninja homepage, that itself creates an event in GitHub that triggers an alert that says, hey, a new calendar event was added. If someone makes a pull request, that there's an automation with GitHub eventing that says, so if we're looking for those events, what do we want to capture in a week letter? Well, I want to see, what are the new issue tickets? What are the new feature requests? What are the new support requests? Well, what new content did people post? Did people post new courses? Did people post new tutorials or new blogs? Whenever someone takes that action, right? What we want to do is have that an automated record of that, organized in a nice way to where, boom, now we can pop out our automated weekly newsletter system. So we're gonna build that together. The course publishing workflow isn't finished. For example, so right now we have a workflow that if someone wants to create a course, it builds out the scaffolding for the course. I'm pretty close to where the main thing the user would need to do at that time is put in all their content, and most of the other stuff is automated. Our whole policy and identity and access management layer, labeling, lots and lots of different stuff gets automated now. So then the course creator would edit their template, but when it creates a course, it's essentially live, but it's not in our catalog. And there's some permissions that we change when we publish things to the catalog. And so I'm going to finish that publishing workflow to where right now I'm doing a lot of that manually. The creation of a new course is largely automated, but when a content author wants to publish their course, I need a workflow to automate all the steps that go into taking something from a development state into a production state for courses. And the same thing for learning guide. And so we have things like right now.
I tried to look this up online and it didn't come up. It said didn't have the same last name. It should be either Copeland or Stoops under there.
Jonathan, is that for the team? Apologize. I think that
Apologies.
Oh, no worries. No worries at all. It's a big call. I've done it many, many times. No feeling bad or being embarrassed around here. We're a friendly community. Let's see. And so things like when someone earns a new badge, right now I'm manually going and posting things on Twitter, but in the very short future, we're going to be using our GitHub workflows to automatically recognize when an event occurs, like someone earned a new badge, that it's going to see that. It's going to automatically create a Twitter message and a LinkedIn message and make API calls to Twitter. And we're going to start off doing that with Bash. We'll look at it with a lot of different ways, functions as a service. Maybe we'll do some with Spring Boot. Maybe we'll do some with Golang, Python, JavaScript, et cetera, just to demonstrate the capabilities. Right now, most everything's Bash, but we're going to look at building out those workflows that make those API calls to Twitter and LinkedIn. And you can look through here and see a lot of the other things here. And this is a tiny fraction of what I've stuffed into my head. I mean, there's so many more features that I've already kind of scoped out in my mind that I haven't got down into this. But yeah, we want to work on these as a community. I'm going to share more videos and more text about when we work through these. We'll work through building out some of the features on this call. This call will be more focused on like that planning. And then we'll set up additional calls, additional working groups as needed if there are multiple people interested in participating in, triaging issue tickets and resolving certain types of feature requests or building out, new features for the platform. Maybe someone wants to build out, really cool new content. You've got this great idea for building a cool demo and associated learning content. Love to talk to you about things like that, see how we can support, all those efforts to share knowledge in the community. And that takes our time. I did not leave a lot of time for question and answers. I apologize. I will stay on though, to take question and answer. We didn't get too far into this week. I may actually do a little bit more here, and we will pick up on this next week. There'll probably be more. I'll have this more organized next week, and we'll go through some of the updates that we've made to the boards, because I just am still in the process of setting up how I want these boards to look. So we'll look at, if you come back next week, we'll look at what I've done between now and next week. And in the meantime, if I do things between now and next week, or if other members of the community, we're really going to work on things like, posting to the community Teams boards. Last thing here, if you have to drop, don't forget these Teams boards. If once you've registered with the Modern Apps Ninja, go to modernapps.ninja, click register now. You should be added to this members team. And there's several different ways we can communicate with each other, but this is really going to be one of the most effective. They've got really great community collaboration capabilities that work well for our way the community is structured right now. So I'll put information on these boards and through other channels as I work on stuff to try to make it as transparent and to share as much as we can. And reach out to me on Slack, LinkedIn. We have VMware Code Slack. These boards are, again, the central place as well. If you're interested in participating more, you find things that you're interested in doing. I understand it's hard to get started on that without, if you don't know, is it okay if I make this change or that change? The answer is probably yes. And also reach out to me. I try to be available as much as possible. And also, if you share here on these boards, other members of the community can jump in if they've had that experience. There's several different members of the community who've had, who are also admins, who've had some experience building out some of these features, creating creating content. And so hopefully together, if you have questions about this, and we'll provide a powerful learning experience if you just want to watch, or a really great opportunity to get involved and to actually get your hands in it, working with this new types of technologies before you have to go take it to, your job where things get a lot more sensitive. So thanks everybody for joining. I will hang out, and if anybody has any additional questions, I'll hang out and chit chat for as long as we have questions. So thank you. If you have to drop, appreciate you joining. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for the time, Art.
Hey, thanks, Simon.
Thanks, Art. Awesome work. Really, really great
Thanks,
work.
Ivan. Appreciate it.
I appreciate the invite. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, I am going to assume that we're good on questions right now. I just see that there were some in the chat, so I will check out this chat transcript and that I did not really pay attention to. And if there's anything outstanding there, I will respond to those individually if I can. And last call for any questions. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining. We'll see you next week, if not sooner. Have a good one.